Takadosh Boker Or Masechet Horayot Daf He Amud Aleph 5A1. Right, says the Mishnah. We're going to start on Daled Amubet the Mishnah. The Mishnah on 4B, right, 2 lines up, says as follows: Huru bedin v'asu kol hakahal. What happens right now if the bedin came and they give a psak and they made a mistake? V'asu kol hakahal or ruban apihen, and the majority of the kahal or the entire kahal, right, did accordingly. Mevi'in par, they're going to bring a par, not the kahal, the bedin. Uba'avodah kochavim, and to do with avodah zarah, mevi'in par v'sa'ir. So it's not going to be a par, it's also going to be a par and a sa'ir, right, of avodah zarah. These are the words of Rabbi Meir, which means one more time, right? If it's not avodah zarah, it's the bedin bringing, and if it's going to be avodah zarah, the bedin are going to bring, but they have to add also a sa'ir, not only just a par elim davar shetzibur. Rabbi Yehuda argues. Rabbi Yehuda omer shnemasar shevatim. If it's going to be the 12 tribes, mevi'in shnemasar parim. So therefore, every single shevet has to bring a par elim davar shetzibur. It's not the bedin. Remember, we brought down before in the beginning of the day that who's bringing it? Is it the tzibur that brings it, or is it going to be the individual? So here that's exact. This is the machloket. According to Shitat Rabbi Meir, it's always going to be the bedin that's going to bring it, right? If they made the mistake and then everybody did accordingly, right? But according to Rabbi Yehuda, if you have the 12 tribes that they went and they made the mistake, each tribe brings a korban, a par helem davar shel tzibur. It's not the bedin. ובעבודה כוכבים, and to do with עבודה זרה, מביאים 12 parim, 12 seirim. So you're going to have to bring 12 parim and 12 seirim, again, because again, it's a he-goat, because they have to bring one. عבודה זרה is the worst of all the avirot. Okay, third halacha, third shita, right? Third shita. So one more time, we had Rabbi Meir, we had Rabbi Yehuda, now on He Amud Aleph from the top, 5A on the top, Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon omer 13 parim. In such a case, you have to bring 13 parim, because every single shevet brings one, and the bedin also bring one. So that's why it's 13. It's 12 shvatim plus a bedin. Ba'avodah kachavim, you're going to bring 13 and 13. 13 parim, 13 sirim. Par, right? V'sa'il lechol shevet, v'par v'sa'il lebedin. Horu bedin. What happens if the bedin come and they make a psak? V'asu shiva shvatim uruban, and there was only 7 of the tribes, or the majority of the tribes. You remember we said it was either 7, because that's the majority, or it was 6, but they are already the majority in numbers. You remember? We brought that down. Al pien. So mevi'in par, u'ba'avodah kachavim mevi'in par v'sa'ir. These are the words of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda omer, Rabbi Yehuda comes and he says, Shiva shvatim chatum mevi'in shiva parim, shar shvatim shelo chatum mevi'in al yidem par. Right? She'af elu shelo chatum mevi'in al yidei hachotin. So it comes out that even the ones that did not actually sin will be brought as well. 7 of the tribes sin. They only bring whoever sinned, or they bring all the 12. It's going to be all the 12. Also, but the difference is what's happening. The 7 they're bringing because they sinned, and the other 7, the other 5 that did not sin are going to bring because of that shevet. The outcome is the same. No, the reasoning though. We're going to see, look at footnote 4. I don't know what number you have there. Yeah, each one. Okay. Rabbi Shimon is going to now be again the third shita. Rabbi Shimon omer, shmona parim. Why? Par v'sa'il lechol shevet v'shevet. The par v'sa'il lebedin. You have to bring a par v'sa'il for every single shevet and shevet, and one of them for the bedin. So therefore, the same thing. Exactly. So that's basically his shita is not like Rabbi Yehuda. His shita is more like Rabbi Meir or but it's the same type of a shita. Horu bedin shelechad min hashvatim. What happens if you have bedin agadol of one of the shvatim v'asar to shevet pian, and that shevet did it? Oto shevet hu chayav. Right? Even Rabbi Yehuda. That means according to Rabbi Yehuda, in this case, that shevet is going to be why? Because it was their shevet that made the mistake. So he says, "V'chachamim omrim en chayvim al horayot bedin agadol." It's only going to be on bedin agadol. Shneimar says the pasuk, "V'im kol adat Yisrael yishgu ve'lo adat oto shevet." It's only kol adat Yisrael. So to mean afilu if it's going to happen that one of the bedin make a mistake, it doesn't matter. It has to be the bedin agadol. It's not one bedin. So therefore, they're not going to come and start bringing on their own. Okay? Gemara. Tan Rabbanan, we learned to the Braita. Yeah? Tan Rabbanan, we learned to the Braita. Yadeu shehoru v'ta'u mehoru. Yeah? So he comes and he says this. We learned in a Braita. What happened to the Bet Din wanted to be matir something, and the Kahal, they come and they do it. Right? And during that time, the Kahal went and they were over on Isur, Bishkaga b'maseh. So for example, let's say they said that you could come and eat this type of a chelev. And they did eat the chelev. Now with the chelev, they also had dam. But it was done by b'shogeg. Dam is blood. So it's another Isur, but that was done b'shogeg. Yadu sheoru, v'ta'u ma sheoru. So therefore, it was known to the Bet Din their mistake. Right? V'ta'u, right, meoru. And but they forgot which one was the one that they permitted. Yeah? One more time. I'll give you an example. One more time. There's two Yisurim. Isur chelev and Isur dam. Dam is blood. Chelev is prohibited fats. Yeah? It's prohibited fats. So he comes and he says, right, as follows. The Bet Din come and they said, you're allowed to eat the chelev. Everybody with me? You're allowed to eat the chelev. Okay. You're allowed to eat the chelev. But then all of a sudden, right, when they say that you're allowed to eat the chelev, they came and they ate the chelev and they ate dam as well. Now, it was both b'shogeg. All of a sudden, Bet Din come and they say, whoa, we made a mistake. We permitted them an isur. But then they start thinking, 1 second, which one of the two did we make the mistake on? Did we make a mistake on the chelev? Do we make a mistake on the dam? So Yachol you chayavin. I would have thought today you're going to be chayav. Tamunomar v'nodea chatat asher chata alea v'lo sheyivadeu achotim. And it has to be that there's one sin which was known that they made a specific one, and not that there's two sins, meaning that they're not sure which one they did it. So because of that, it doesn't help. Okay, hold on 1 second. So says the Gemara, what does it mean now? Asher chateu. Chateu shne shvatim meviim shne parim. Chateu shlosha meviim shlosha. So when we say v'noda chatat asher chatu v'ikriva kahal, it comes out that if you have two shvatim that they sinned, they're going to be two parim elim shel davar tzibur. If it was three shvatim, so they're going to be three, which means that every single shevet is going to bring a par elim davar of his shevet. Or eno ela, right? Omer ela chatu shnei yechidim mevim shnei parim, chatu shlosha mevim shlosha. Tamul lomar hakahal. What does it mean? Hakahal is going to be chayav, v'chol hakahal kahal chayav. So he comes and he says, and not every single shevet. So when it says asher chateu alea, we're learning that every single kvutza has to bring a part to itself. The kahal is teaching you that that it's a kvutza and not yechidim. So Ketzad, what's the case exactly? Chatu shne shvatim. What happens if there's going to be two tribes? If in shne parim, they're going to be two parim. Chatu shiva. If it's going to be 7 tribes, they're going to bring 7 parim. Ushara shvatim shelo chatu mevin al yideim par par. They're going to bring one by one. Shafilu elu shelo chatu mevin al yidei chotin. Lekach neemar kahal lechayev al kol kahal vekal. On every single shevet to shevet, you have to obligate them as well. These are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, the Gemara is going to say it. Okay, Rabbi Shimon argues and he says, Shiva shvatim shechatu mevi'im shiva parim. 7 tribes are going to bring 7 parim. Bedin mevi'im, the bedin are going to bring al yidem par. Shneimar lemata, but it says below kahal. Shneimar lemala kahal, and it says also kahal. Ma kahal amu lemala, just like by the kahal which it says above. Right, we're talking about now bedin ima kahal. So to the kahal which is said below is bedin ima kahal. So it has to be together with them. That's why if you remember, the shita of Rabbi Shimon was always the Bet Din is a separate entity. So the Bet Din also has to bring another one. You remember the Shimon always said that if it's 7, so it's 7 plus 1, because 1 is for the Bet Din, or the other case as well. Okay? So he comes and he says, Rabbi Meir says, Shiva shvatim shechatu Bet Din mevim al yidem par, vehem pturim, but they are ptur. Says why? Ne'emar kahal lemata ve'ne'emar kahal lemala. It says kahal and kahal. Just like kahal is above, is going to be the bedin lo tzibur. So to kahal amul lemata is also going to be the bedin not the tzibur. Rabbi Shimon Lazar omer mishmor. Rabbi Shimon Lazar says the name of Rabbi Meir. Hatu shisha shvatim emru shmor shel kalab. What if there was only 6 tribes that sinned, but it's the majority of the congregation? Shiva avishana, or it's 7 tribes, but they're not the majority, meaning that they were small tribes. Mevi'im par. They're still going to bring a par because that is considered rov hatzibur. Okay? Until you're clear? Exactly. Amar more. Yeah, says more. Who's the Tana that holds this concept? That it has to be that you know about the sin, but not the sins. That there was a plural. So I'm going to give them Rav says in the name of Rav, Rav, and some people say Rava, Telok Rabbi Lazar. It's not like Rabbi Eliezer. Says the time was learned in the Braita. Right? Amar Rabbi Eliezer says Rabbi Eliezer, Manavshach. Right? Whether it's going to be that they were going to be over on Isur of Chatat, Imachal Chelev Chayav, Notar Achal Chayav. So he says whether the person came and ate Chelev, he's still going to be Chayav Chatat. Or if he ate notar, he's also going to be chayav. So therefore, the same malacha would apply to this Braita. That means even though we don't know which isur, you're still going to be chayav, right? So 2 years should still be chayav. Says Rav Ashi, that's incorrect. Rav Ashi Amar, even if you're going to tell me it's a Eliezer, shane acha, it's different over there. Dichtiv asher chatu aleha. Aleha means that they sinned on it, meaning you know which one it is. So says the Gemara, what are you talking about? Hatam nami yaktiv, it's certain asher chatabah, certain that they sin with it. So that's also the same thing. Says no. How mi baile prale mitasek? That's coming to exclude mitasek. You know what mitasek is? Nobody? Mitasek. If I go outside of the room, right, on Shabbat, and I forgot it's Shabbat and I turned off the light, what is that? Shogeg. Okay. What happens if I knew it was Shabbat, but I forgot that you're not allowed to turn off the light? And I turned off the light. What is that? What? So therefore, what is that? Shogeg. Yeah, that's also shogeg. Whether it's a shogeg in the melacha or shogeg in the Shabbat, right? You're still going to be, it's considered shogeg. What happens if I start walking by and, right, you were blocking my way. So I moved out of the way and my shoulder hit the light and turned it on. Do I have to bring a chatat? Bezat Hashem, today they're going to build a Bet HaMikdash. Okay, it's Shabbat. Whatever. It's on Sunday. It's not that simple. They say that the Bet HaMikdash will not be built on Erev Shabbat because we're busy preparing things on Shabbat, for Shabbat. But the question now is, Bezat Hashem, it's going to be speedily built in our days. I have to bring a chatat or not? One more time. My shoulder passed by and hit the light. No? Why not? Huh? Mitasek. Mitasek is not shogeg. You're patur. Patur. That's called the mitasek. That's not by accident. Accident is that you are conscious of the day, but not the melacha, or the melacha, not the day. Yeah, exactly. You're only going to be Rabbi Nachman Shevet. Here it's mitasek. Where are you?
One who was engaged in something else and sin is exempt if he did not benefit. It's for the right to benefit.
I don't know why. So it's incorrect. Yeah. Can you please read the English? Michai, you have the English? No. What do you mean? You don't have the English? Here in Hebrew it says, Adam mitchayev chatat רק כשעושה מעשה בכוונה, אבל המתעסק לעשות מעשה היתר ועלה בידו מעשה איסור פטור מחטאת. That's what I just explained. It's Hilchot Shabbat. I don't need Horayot to teach you that. Yeah, but so read it in English. No, that's what I'm just saying. It's a very nice concept, but it has nothing to do with Hana. Hana is a different halacha now. Hana is a completely different. Because it's nothing to do with you benefit or benefit. Let's say I would have benefited from the light now, but it doesn't matter. It's nothing to do with the. You understand? So therefore, when we're talking about this entire concept, right, we said that asher chatabah is coming to exclude mitasek. Okay, fine. My tamad Rabbi Yehuda. We wanted to find out what's the shita of Rabbi Yehuda. So Kasavar, he says arbaha ke'ale ketive. It's written 4 times kahal. Okay, when we're talking about the parelim davar shel zibur, it says, right, meinei kahal, v'ikrivu akal. So twice it says v'ikrivu, and twice it says meinei. So chad lechayev kol kahal. When it says one of the kahals, it's obligating every single kahal to bring a pare and everything. Chad, one of them is hora'at tluya b'vedin, to do with the hora'at tluya b'vedin. U'maaseh talui b'kahal, and the maaseh, the isur, which is talui b'kahal. V'chad legreira. One of them is going to be that if that the shvatim that they're not chatu are nigradim after the shvatim that did, they're drawn after them. That means even though they didn't sin, they're nigradim acharehem, and that they learn from the word, right? Kahal. One of them is the shevet that they did al pi horad bedin shel gadol shel shevet that they also bring us. So therefore, that's why he says there's 4 different times written kahal lechayev the kahal in 4 different cases. Whether it's going to be their bedin doing it, so the bedin shel oto shevet. Whether it's going to be grera, זאת אומרת אפילו השבטים שלא טעו, right? שלא עשו את העבירה, they still have to bring. Whether it's going to be, right? Which one? Al kol kahal v'kahal, right? And the bedin, the hora'av bedin, maaseh talui b'kahal. Fine. So says the Gemara, what are you talking about? It's not written 4 times. Tlata ka'ale k'tive. It's only written 3 times. It says kahal and akahal, right? Me'enei kahal orche dekrahu. He says the one of the pasuk of me'enei kahal. That's the pasuk is talking normally, right? So he said kedamne inche me'enei deplanya, right? Like the eyes of this certain person. So chad lechayev, and that's right. So he comes and he says this is the shita of Rabbi Shimon. So according to Rabbi Shimon, I got rid of one of the kahals. So because of that, one of them is to obligate on every single kahal individually. And the other 2, it says lemata kahal and it says lemata kahal, just like it says over there, it's do the betin. So to here is the betin, which means that it's the betin. It's coming to teach you that the betin also have to bring, just like everybody else. Capish? That means betin also. That's why, if you remember, according to Shirat Rabbi Shimon, the betin was always the extra one. So, for example, if there was 7 shvatim, you have to bring 8. Because the 8th one is for the kahal. If it's 12 shvatim, it's 13. Because the 13 was for the bedin. Because the 13 was for the bedin. Okay? Rabbi Min, what's the reasoning of Rabbi Min? So he says, kahal lo darish. He doesn't have this thing about kahal. How many times is written kahal? He says, Yilkach, therefore, it's written twice. Just like over there, it's a bedin and sibur. It's always going to be bedin and sibur. That means they're never going to bring it. Rabbi Shimon Elazar and Rabbi Shimon Elazar, the name of Rabbi Meir. What's his reasoning? So he says, "Ktiv it's written vayay me'enei adai alma miuta." It's a mute. Tichtiv me'enei, from the eyes of the congregation, not kol enei akal. Uchtiv ki lecholam bishkaga lemeimra deruba in miuta lo. It's only going to be rov, but not on the mute. So hakate said, what's the case? Either it's going to be shisha vehen rubo shel akal, 6 tribes, but they're the majority of all Klal Yisrael. Lama im rov shel Klal Yisrael bigla lemayu shvatim agdolim, or shiva, or you've got 7 tribes. Right? Afal pi she'en rubo shel kahal, even though it's not going to be the rov of Yisrael, chayavim. You're going to be hayav. Okay? So now we're going to go back to Rabbi Shimon Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Shimon, Hey Amud Bet, 5b. So Rabbi Shimon Rabbi Meir, right? He says, Deora'at tluya b'vedin u'maaseh talui b'kahal menalu. So according to Rabbi Shimon Rabbi Meir, how do you know this halakha that it has to be hora'ah in the bedin and ma'aseh in the kahal? How do you know that? According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's an extra kahal. But whether it's according to Rabbi Meir because he's not Toresh all the kahals, or whether, what's going on? So Amar Rabbi says, the pasuk says, Vayai me'enei ada nesta lishkaga. What does that mean? It's nesta. It has to be done. It has to be made done. So Rava comes and he says, Lechol ha'am bishkaga. So it has to be that the am we're doing it b'shogeg. Utzricha, and you need both of them. He says, why? If the Torah would have only written Vayai me'enei ada nesta lishkaga, I would have thought to say afilu miuta, even if it's going to be the minority. That's why it's written lecholam bishkaga. But if it's going to be written lecholam bishkaga, it would have had a havamina until it would have been done. Betin themselves have to do it. It was done bishogeg, but not on them. Meaning they didn't actually do it; it was done, right, to them. Okay, he says 1 second, but these psukim are talking about avodah zarah. So he says, Yalfina me'enei me'enei. You're right. You're making zera shava me'enei me'enei. It means just like by the tzibur that they sin with avodah zarah, so too vayai me'enei adal yistal ishkaga to do with me'enei, which is talking about other averot as well. Okay, so it's not only just avodah zarah, it's also other averot. Okay, fine. Two dots, right? We're almost a third down. Horu bedin shelechad. Right? Imagine right now if one of the bedins of that shevet came and they made a mistake. Right? Ibailu, so we ask the question, shevet echad Rabbi Yehuda bo bedin gadol mi tu shashvatim or lo? If it's only going to be one shevet. Now, according to Rabbi Yehuda, we said that if it's going to be borat bedin gadol, what about now the other shvatim? Do they have to bring or not? Mi amrina, do we say shiva shvatim hu demaiti shvatim ba'adayu? It's only if it's 7, so everybody else brings because there's rov. But chad shevet, if it's only going to be 1, you don't have rov, so they're not going to bring. Or Dilmar, I'm going to say Loshna. You understood? One more time. You had a Bedin Shevet Shimon. They came and they made a mistake. So now, do you say now that all the other Shvatim also have to bring? Just like it was by the Bedin Agadol if they made a mistake? That if it was 7 of them? Or do you say, no. By 7 of them, Hayarov. As Bigla Sharov Klal Yisrael Chatu, the other Shvatim, they have to go inside as well. And they also have to bring. But maybe over here, maybe it's not like that. Maybe it's not the Rov. So it's only one shevet. So maybe yes, because it was 7 shvatim and it was bedina gadol. Here we're talking about bedina of that shevet, one shevet. So says the Gemara, right? Tashema, we're going to try to bring a proof. Mahemivin parechad. What are they going to bring a parechad? Rabbi Shimon comes and he says you have to bring shne parim. Right? Remember, Rabbi Shimon always has to add in another one because of the bedin. So Ma'eskina, what is the case? If it's going to be 7 tribes, Rabbi Shimon Tamanya by it, so then you need 8. Ela rather, it was 1 shevet, and you have to bring 2. So b'mai, if you're going to tell me it's Horab Betin, Rabbi Shimon Letle, he doesn't hold of this. Ela lav, Horab Betin Agadol, it has to be Davka Betin Agadol. So right, with Tanakama Mani, so then who's the Tanakama? If you're going to tell me it's a Bimi'id, you need the majority. Ela lav, it's a Yehuda, right? So, and therefore, if it's going to be Rabbi Yehuda, that he's going to be mechayev a par, even on one shevet, so it's mefurash like Rabbi Yehuda that every single shevet, right, just like it's when Betin Agadol, right? So he says, "Aval shvatim acharim enam nigraim achar shevet shechata," meaning it's only going to be with Betin Agadol that everybody's nigrar, but not on a Betin of an individual. Okay. So says the Gemara, Amri. So he said, right, as follows. Amni, Hachamaskin, what are we dealing with? Kegon shechatu shisha shvatim. There were 6 shvatim. Kehen ruban shel kahal, and they're the majority of the kahal. Rabbi Shimon Lazar here, Rabbi Shimon Lazar, the Tanya we learned in the right, Rabbi Shimon Lazar omer mishmo, chatu shisha ve'en rubo shel kahal, or shiva af al pi shen ruban shel kahal, if they were sinning 6 of them, 6 shvatim, and they're the majority of the kahal, or 7 of them, and it's not the majority of the kahal, they're still going to bring a par. So therefore, you cannot bring a proof from this braita, right? Shum davar, because at the end of the day, it's not talking about one shevet. It's either talking. It's always the majority. The question is, was it electoral or right? Doctor, we explained it yesterday. Lavdil elef of the law with electoral votes and the majority votes, right? Which means that there's 2 things in America. There's a majority of the people that are coming, right? Well, it's true. No, there's one thing that counts that who makes the president, which is electoral votes, right? But right, there's a concept of the thing. I told you, Hillary Clinton won the majority votes, but she lost electoral votes, right? This past time, Trump won both. Right, but at the end of the day, but there's 2 separate things. So when you have shisha shvatim, 6 tribes, you don't have majority in electoral, right? But you have majority in numbers. Because it's shisha shvatim and hen ruban shel Yisrael, meaning they're majority in numbers, or 7 shvatim, which is electoral, even though they're not the majority. What does that mean? They're a small shvatim, but there's 7 shvatim. So therefore, you have a lavdil elef of the lot. That's how we explained it yesterday. Yes, because we said Bedina Gadol is the Bedin of everybody, and then we said the Bedin of every single shevet. That's what we're talking about. So Tashema, Rabbi Yehuda says, Shevet Shasa Beorat Bedino, if a Shevet comes and he does according to their Bedin, right? Oto Shevet Chayav, that Shevet is going to be Chayav, Usha Kol Shvatim Turim, and everyone else is going to be Patur. Hora Bedin Afilu Shvatim Chayavim. Shema Mina. So therefore, you're right. It comes out from here that it's only if it's Betina Gadol that everybody is obligated. But if it's going to be Betin of Oto Shevet, as lo, right? Which I think also you could say Svara Pshuta. When it's Betin Gadol, they are the representatives of all of Klal Yisrael. So if they made a mistake, even if it was only going to be a few shvatim, it was our betin that sinned. It was our betin agadol. So therefore, okay, it's going to be a problem. If it's betin shel shevet echad, it's a different entity. You understand? Okay, fine, you're right. It's not good for all of Klal Yisrael, but it's only a betin of this specific, right, of this specific shevet. No, but here's not a small betin. It's betin of entire shevet, but still, it's not betin agadol. So Amar Ravashi says, Matniti Namedaika, you could also do this from the Mishnah, the Tani, we learned in the Braita. Ve'asa oto Hashevet PM, that Shevet did it according to them. Oto Hashevet chayav u'shar kol shvatim p'turim. That Shevet is going to be chayav and everybody else is going to be p'turim. So Lama Limnitni, why do we have to learn shar shvatim are going to be p'turim? Hatana oto Hashevet chayav, we just said that Shevet is chayav. Meaning, אם אתה אומר לי אותו שבט חייב, משמע, shar shvatim p'turim. If I already tell you they are chayav, that Shevet, so everybody else is going to be p'tur. So he says, "V'kevan tetana, mimei yadina shar shvatim turim." Ela kamashmalan comes teach you the vora bedino who the shar shvatim turim. Vora bedina gadol afilu shar shvatim chayavim shma mina. So we learn from here that if it's going to be davka their shevet, that they made a mistake, they're going to be chayavim, and everybody else is going to be puturim. But if it's going to be bedina gadol, I don't want. Yeah, so then they're going to be everybody's going to be chayavim. Says the Gemara, we have a question. Shevet echad shasa b'ora bedina gadol l'Rabbi Shimon. What happens if you only have one shevet, but they did according to bedina gadol? According to Rabbi Shimon, me might do they bring or not? So he says, Tashma, I'm going to try to bring a proof. Maybe what do they bring? Par echad. Rabbi Shimon says, shne parim. What are we dealing with? We actually skipped this out. Right? Shne parim, shmona parim by it should be 8. Ela dechata shevet echad. It was only going to be one shevet. So v'mai, how? Ilema, if you're going to tell me now b'ora bedin that it was a b'ora bedino of that shevet, Rabbi Shimon doesn't hold of that. Ela has to be Orad Bedina Gadol. So it's mifurash that we're talking about Orad Bedina Gadol. And since only one Shevet sinned, so there's going to be 2 parim. One for the Bedina Gadol and one for that Shevet. Says the Gemara Tisbera, is it logical? Tanakama many. Who's the Tanakama then? If it's going to be Rabbi Meir, you always need the majority. Harubabai. If you're going to be Rabbi Yehuda, you all the other Shvatim also bring. Shar Shvatim Nami Maiti. Hamani. So who is it? Rabbi Shimon Lazari. Just like we learned above. So therefore, what's we talking about then? If it's going to be Rabbi Shimon, that he's now saying that it's 2 parim, one for the kal and one for the bedin, what's going on then? So Tashema v'chachamim come and they say Le'olam eno chayav ela al horat bedin gadol. You're never going to be chayav unless it's horat bedin gadol. Who is chachamim? If you're going to tell me it's Rabbi Meir, you always need the majority. If you're going to tell me Rabbi Shimon, right? Elalav Rabbi Shimon. So therefore, you're right. Shema mina. That's exactly what it is. That Rabbi Shimon holds that shevet echad shechatat pi horat bedin gadol is going to be chayav to bring. Okay, so again, Shitat Rabbi Shimon, even one tribe is chayav, but it has to be Bedina Gadol. Remember, according to him, there's no only Rabbi Yehuda holds a Bedino of that shevet, right? Because again, according to Rabbi Meir, you need majority. According to Rabbi Shimon, you need Bedina Gadol. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, shevet echad dikre kal menaleu. How do we know, according to Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon, that one kahal is considered, right? One shevet is called a kahal. Amni, they said, "Dichtiv tzud v'yamod Yoshafat." Bikal Yehuda v'Yerushalayim v'vet Hashem lifnei chazer chazer. It says Bikal Yehuda v'Yerushalayim. So it's mashma Yehuda was already one kahal. So you see that one kahal is called a shevet. One shevet is called a kahal. Sorry. So my chadasha. What does it mean there when it says a chadasha? Lifnei chazer chadasha. Amar Rabbi Yochanan shechidshu dvarim right ve'amru tvul yom al yikeres v'machane levia. They went and they were mechadesh dvarim in the Bet Midrash. They said that a tvul yom should not come into the machane levia whatsoever of Harabait. Right. That's what it's pshat of a chatzera chadasha. Because they went and they said something new. So Matkif la Ravach Bar Yaakov Mimai. How do you know that one shevet is called a kahal? Tilma Shani Yerushalayim. He says, what are you talking about? It's Yehuda and Binyamin. Because inside of Yerushalayim, you also had a part of Binyamin. Remember, the Bet Mikdash was also a part of Binyamin. So if it's going to be, so it's not just one shevet, it's 2 shvatim. So Ravach Bar Yaakov Dichtiv. It says the pasuk v'yomer elai nenim yefecha b'yidich kalamim. Mani tial leushata. Who was only born? Binyamin. Shmamina hachi kama. Rahmana. So therefore, you learn from here, you're going to have another kahal. Meaning, from the fact that he tells Yaakov Avinu that you're going to have kahal amin, everybody was already born. Who's left? Binyamin. Binyamin is called the kahal. Binyamin was only one tribe, and he's called the kahal. Ask the Gemara, Elmaleh Rav Shabba Rav Kahana, ask Rav Shabba to Rav Kahana, Dilma Achi Kamalu Rahmana. Maybe this is what the Torah was saying. Lechi mitalilech b'yaminu dechai dayu shnei masah shvatim d'mikai kal. Go have Binyamin in order that I could have a kahal. And who's a kahal? Kol ha-shnei masah shvatim. So, the minute, Binyamin is not a kahal. אבל אני רוצה שתולי בנימין בשביל להשלים הקהל. ומי זה הקהל? 12 שבטים. So he says, Elmaleh, אלא 12 שבטים יקרו קהל. 11 שלא יקרו קהל. He says what? Only 12 שבטים are called a kahal and not 11? Why not? So Tanya, we learned in a Braita, right? Rabbi Shimon Omer, Rabbi Shimon. So for sure, obviously, that's not the pshat in the pasuk. Tanya, we learned in a Braita, Rabbi Shimon Omer, Rabbi Shimon says, Mata Murmar wasn't in pasuk Vashini Memakati Chachal Gadat. Even though mention Shlaim, you're going to teach you that it's two, but look what Ne'eman, that it's already written, Vaseta Echad Chada V'ta Echad Ola LaHashem. But rather, יכול תהא נאכלת חטאת ללווים. תלמוד לומר, ופר שני לעולה. Right? מה עולה לא נאכלת, אף חטאת לא נאכלת. So he comes and he says like this. He says, when it says that you're going to take the part of the we ask. It says, ופר שני במקל תיקח לחטאת. What do you have to tell you שני? What is שניים? Right? Why do you have to say the שני? It says, ויעשה אחד חטאת ואחד עולה. So I would have thought to say that it's going to be eaten to the Levim. And when it says parsheni, it's sheni leola. Just like the ola is not eaten, so to chatat is not eaten, but rather no, the chatat is going to be eaten, not the ola.